There was a time when the words Japanese luxury car sounded almost like a joke. In the 1980s, if you wanted the finest luxury sedan in the world, you bought a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, a BMW 7 Series, or perhaps a Jaguar XJ. Toyota built reliable economy cars. Mercedes built dreams. At least, that's what almost everyone believed. But behind closed doors, Toyota was quietly preparing one of the boldest automotive projects ever attempted. It wasn't about building another reliable sedan. It wasn't about making a cheaper alternative to the Germans. Toyota wanted something far more ambitious. They wanted to build the best luxury car in the world, regardless of cost. Personally, I think that's one of the craziest decisions ever made by an automotive company. Imagine being known for practical family cars and then deciding to challenge manufacturers that had spent decades perfecting luxury engineering. Most companies would have called it impossible. Toyota called it Project F1. Contrary to what many people assume, F1 didn't stand for Formula One. It meant Flagship One, and its mission was incredibly simple on paper but almost impossible in reality: create a luxury sedan capable of outperforming the Mercedes-Benz S-Class in comfort, refinement, reliability, and value while remaining quiet enough to redefine what customers expected from a premium automobile. Money was almost no object. Toyota reportedly invested around $1 billion into the program, assembled more than 1,400 engineers, involved over 2,000 technicians, consulted hundreds of designers, and built roughly 450 prototypes during years of development. The team tested the car everywhere they could imagine, from the frozen roads of northern Europe to the scorching deserts of Arizona, from German autobahns to crowded American highways. Every detail mattered. Engineers obsessed over wind noise, vibration, fuel efficiency, engine smoothness, ride quality, seat comfort, climate control, and even the sound each switch made when pressed. Toyota wasn't simply trying to build a competitor. They wanted to remove every excuse someone might have for choosing a European luxury sedan instead. When the Lexus LS400 finally debuted in 1989, the automotive world was stunned. It didn't rely on outrageous styling or aggressive marketing. Instead, it impressed people in a much quieter way. The doors closed with remarkable precision. The cabin felt incredibly refined. The suspension absorbed rough roads with effortless confidence. The newly developed 4.0-liter 1UZ FE all-aluminum V8 produced smooth, effortless power while remaining astonishingly quiet. At highway speeds, passengers often found themselves speaking more softly because there was almost no wind or engine noise entering the cabin. Journalists couldn't believe what Toyota had achieved. Here was a completely new luxury brand producing a sedan that matched, and in some areas even surpassed, the established German leaders while offering legendary Japanese reliability. Even more surprising, it arrived with a significantly lower price than many of its European competitors. Personally, I think the LS400 changed the luxury car market forever because it forced manufacturers like Mercedes-Benz and BMW to realize that reputation alone was no longer enough. Customers had another option, and it was an incredibly good one. But the story of the LS400 didn't end with executives and business owners. As the years passed, the car found an entirely different audience. Enthusiasts discovered that beneath its elegant design was one of the strongest V8 engines Toyota had ever produced. The 1UZ FE quickly earned a reputation for exceptional durability, often covering hundreds of thousands of miles with little more than routine maintenance. Builders around the world began swapping the engine into sports cars, drift cars, classic trucks, and even race cars because it combined remarkable reliability with impressive tuning potential. At the same time, the LS400 became an icon of VIP style, particularly in Japan, where owners transformed these already luxurious sedans with elegant suspension setups, deep dish wheels, subtle body modifications, and immaculate interiors. Unlike loud performance builds, VIP culture focused on sophistication, presence, and attention to detail, qualities the LS400 naturally possessed from the very beginning. Looking back today, it's remarkable how one car managed to influence two completely different worlds. On one side, it became the executive sedan that challenged Europe's finest luxury automobiles. On the other, it became a beloved platform within enthusiast communities that appreciated its engineering, reliability, and timeless design. And perhaps that's the greatest achievement of all. The Lexus LS400 wasn't built to follow the rules of the luxury car market. It quietly rewrote them. When customers finally began driving the Lexus LS400, something unexpected happened. They didn't just discover another luxury sedan, they began questioning everything they thought they knew about premium automobiles. For decades, brands like Mercedes-Benz and BMW had built their reputations on engineering excellence, refinement, and prestige. Owning an S-Class or a 7 Series wasn't simply about transportation, it was a statement of success. Then Lexus arrived from seemingly nowhere and offered a car that was quieter than many European rivals, smoother to drive, incredibly well assembled, and backed by a level of reliability that almost seemed impossible for a luxury vehicle. One of the LS400's biggest competitors was the legendary Mercedes-Benz S-Class, first the W126 and later the technologically advanced W140. Mercedes still represented the pinnacle of German engineering, offering unmatched prestige and cutting-edge technology, but that sophistication often came with greater complexity and significantly higher ownership costs. The Lexus approached luxury from an entirely different direction. Instead of overwhelming buyers with advanced electronics, Toyota focused on perfecting the fundamentals. The result was a sedan that felt exceptionally refined while remaining remarkably dependable for years after its competitors often became expensive to maintain. BMW's 7 Series offered sharper handling and a more engaging driving experience, appealing to those who wanted a sporty executive sedan. Jaguar focused on elegance and traditional British luxury. Cadillac emphasized comfort and presence in the American market. Yet the LS400 managed to combine many of their strengths while avoiding many of their weaknesses. It was comfortable without feeling soft, powerful without being aggressive, luxurious without appearing excessive, and sophisticated without sacrificing reliability. Personally, I think this balance is exactly what made the LS400 such an extraordinary achievement. Toyota didn't try to copy Mercedes or BMW. They studied them, learned from them, and then created something with its own identity. The heart of that success was undoubtedly the legendary 1UZ FEV8. Built almost to aerospace standards, this all-aluminum 4.0-liter engine featured dual overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, and an engineering philosophy centered around refinement and durability. It delivered smooth, linear power, produced very little vibration, and quickly earned a reputation as one of the greatest V8 engines Toyota has ever built. Even today, decades after production began, countless examples continue running with 300,000, 400,000, or even 500,000 miles on their original engines with proper maintenance. That level of longevity remains almost unheard of in the luxury segment. Over time, the LS400 also developed an entirely different legacy outside executive parking lots. Around the world, especially in Japan and later across the United States, enthusiasts discovered that the LS400 made an exceptional platform for VIP builds. Unlike traditional performance tuning, VIP culture celebrated elegance, stance, and craftsmanship. Owners lowered their cars using air suspension or carefully tuned coilovers, installed beautifully polished multi-piece wheels, added subtle body kits, and created interiors that looked more like first-class lounges than ordinary car cabins. What made the LS400 perfect for this style was its timeless design. Even with tasteful modifications, it never looked loud or attention-seeking. Instead, it carried an effortless presence that commanded respect without needing to shout. At the same time, the bulletproof 1UZ FE engine became one of the most popular V8 swap engines in the world. Builders installed it into drift cars, classic pickups, off-road vehicles, sports cars, and even racing machines because it combined compact dimensions, outstanding reliability, and enormous tuning potential. Few luxury engines have ever enjoyed such a second life among enthusiasts. Looking back today, it's fascinating how the LS400 succeeded in two completely different worlds. For business executives, it represented a smarter alternative to established European luxury brands. For car enthusiasts, it became one of the most respected platforms for custom builds and one of Toyota's greatest engineering achievements. Personally, I think that's why the LS400 has aged so gracefully. It wasn't designed around trends or gimmicks. It was designed around quality, precision, and longevity. Those values never go out of style. More than 3 decades after its debut, the Lexus LS400 remains one of the most influential luxury sedans ever created, not because it sold the most cars or carried the highest price tag, but because it proved that an entirely new manufacturer could challenge the biggest names in automotive history and earn their respect through engineering rather than reputation alone. The Lexus LS400 wasn't created to start a revolution, yet that's exactly what it did. It didn't rely on flashy styling, massive horsepower figures, or an iconic racing pedigree to earn its place in automotive history. Instead, it challenged an entire industry with something much more powerful: engineering excellence. It proved that luxury didn't have to come with constant repairs, extraordinary maintenance costs, or decades of brand heritage. It showed the world that a newcomer could compete with the biggest names in the business simply by building a better car. Personally, I believe the LS400 is one of the greatest examples of what happens when engineers are given the freedom to pursue perfection instead of compromise. Every switch, every panel gap, every mile of testing, and every decision made during Project F1 had one purpose: to create the finest luxury sedan Toyota could possibly build. More than 30 years later, that dedication is still evident every time you see a well-maintained LS400 quietly cruising down the road. Its influence reaches far beyond Lexus itself. Without the success of the LS400, the luxury car market might look completely different today. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, and countless other manufacturers were forced to raise their standards because one Japanese sedan proved that refinement, quality, reliability, and value could exist together in a way nobody had imagined before. And perhaps that's the greatest compliment any automobile can receive, not simply being remembered as a great car, but changing the direction of an entire industry. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more stories about the legendary cars that changed automotive history. Your support helps the channel continue bringing these incredible machines and their untold stories back to life. And now I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think the Lexus LS400 truly deserves its reputation as the luxury sedan that changed the world, or would you still choose a classic Mercedes-Benz S-Class or BMW 7 Series from the same era? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next documentary.